Not my best work. That clap felt a little hollow, and so I'm a little disappointed, but I'm going to power through this episode despite my failure at the beginning.
Yeah, my expectations weren't met, but they were pretty low anyhow. It's okay.
How have you been, man?
Man, life is good. It is good to be Clay Russell, and it's good to be on the Jesus Cartel. Man, we're right in the middle of my favorite season, football season, and I love it. You know, we got game Friday night. Me and my son are going to the LSU South Carolina game on Saturday. I get to drive back Sunday morning and preach Sunday morning. I mean, it's what better time for me than this?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We've had some really cool things going on. First, we have started to shift our youth focus at our church from being sermon focused, as most churches, most youth groups are kind of focused, to being battleground focused.
Okay.
And so we have made it a hard transition from, hey, let's listen to a sermon and see if we can loosely apply it to our life, to, hey, let's start chasing people. Let's start running this down. And so, we're doing a lot of praying for people. We're doing a lot of plotting and planning. Our service is now starting out with us addressing our last week's successes and failures in pursuing after people. And, the kids are kind of getting in the swing of it. This is just our second week. And so, they're kind of getting used to it, but very, very encouraged by the direction that it's headed. And I'm starting to already see a difference in the students, even though their action has been subtle. You can see that it's on their mind. And so I'm pretty pumped up about it, man, because I'll be honest, man, the monotony of how a lot of churches go can be disheartening, when you're just showing up and hey, man, it don't matter how good I preach here, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to shift. That sucks. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that in life, but it's a real thing. It happens places, man. And so I, at all costs, want to avoid that, and let's emulate what the church was created for, which is to take back the enemy's territory, the territory that the enemy has stolen. And so we just kind of made a hard switch with our youth, and I'm intending that continues into every ministry that I'm touching, is that we kind of switch from a sermon focus to a battleground focus mentality. And I'm really excited about it. That's something the Lord put on my heart, not like it's some kind of secret new revelation. It's just like, hey, when I'm praying to the Lord, I'm like, hey, reveal to me what I'm missing. It's not necessarily reveal a new thing, because I think that he's revealed what he wanted revealed. But it's, hey, reveal to me what is it that you've told me that I've missed. And he's like, hey, well, here's one. Here's a layup of one. We need to be chasing people different than we're chasing people. And and I'll just say this, and I know you know this as a pastor of a church. The pastor is not your local God. He's just not. He's not. He's never intended to be. He's intended to be a spiritual mentor or a spiritual leader. There's a lot of roles of a pastor, but a spiritual mentor, a spiritual leader, to help point us to the things that are called of us in our life by Christ. You are essentially a servant helper to whatever the Lord has told you to accomplish. Your pastor is to come alongside you and help you and lead you and teach you and serve you in those areas to make you the best version of one who is becoming like Jesus that you can be. And so I know that is happening at your church, but as someone who travels a lot and has worked at many churches in my life, I know that that's not the norm. And so I think the Lord's just like, hey, look, I know it's a hard sell a lot of places, but here's what we're doing. And so I'm really excited about that. That's one major thing that's going on. Operation Family Freedom has also been on a tear. We've been killing it. Even had a few clients join in the battle with us, man. Love you guys so much. Really appreciate you. That's a huge deal. And one of my board members suggested that for people that free an entire family, which is a fairly large donation, to print out a picture, frame it, and hand deliver it to them. And man, that's been a lot of fun, getting to drive around and meet with people and hand them these pictures. And it's just led to some really good conversations and getting to know you. And I got to have lunch with a guy recently who listens to the Jesus Cartel, but I've never really got to sit down with him.
Right.
And so just getting to sit and hear his story, hear his heart on some things, man, it was a lot of fun. And it's weird to think, we're almost 3 years deep in Jesus Cartel, so it's like he's probably listened to me talk for about 150 hours. That's about how much film we have. Or I guess it's probably close to like 120 because we're not quite at the 3-year mark. But about 120 hours, and let's just say hypothetically I spoke for half of that. He's literally listened to me speak for 60 straight hours.
Right.
And so it was interesting just kind of getting to share and meet somebody from the dynamic of someone who would actually know me so well as far as my story. And and my heart. I've shared my heart on most matters. And so it was cool though, man. It was a lot of fun, very, very productive, and look forward to continuing to do that because the Lord has been so good to me in those meetings too. And a lot of times when you go to those meetings, in your mind, it's for other people. It's like, I'm going to go meet with them for them, to encourage them, to thank them for what they've done, what they've poured into this ministry. But usually I leave more encouraged than they do. And so it's been a lot of fun for me. That was the case yesterday, and I think it will continue to be the case. And so that's been me, man. Anything else going on with you?
Well, just in that thought process as far as, shifting from, a sermon focus to a battle focus type deal, I think that every good organization, group, and stuff should go through different, I hate to even use this word, but
don't do it. He's going to say phases
at certain times. Just different transitions. And here's why. Because people need to be reached different ways at different times. I know the title of my sermon this week, but I don't know the contents of it. But next week, I already kind of know, and it's going to be basically that there's 3 different types of lost people out there, and you got to be able to reach them all. And so, do you need to be praying for them to be ready for that? Yes. Do you need to go reach them where they are? Yes. And I think another factor is just loving on people and stuff. So I think that there's, at least 3 different types of people out there that all need to be reached different ways and stuff. Yep. And so when you're, the youth director of a youth group or children's church or a pastor or whatever, there's going to be different seasons that where the focus needs to be a little different.
You sound so spiritual.
Yeah,
you sound
different
so spiritual.
Seasons where things need to be different. And so I think a good leader recognizes those seasons.
Yes.
Realizes that, hey, what we did in the past worked, and it was great for the past, and we give honor to that. But it's not the season that we need to be in right now. And so it doesn't mean that we did it wrong. There's a good opportunity for the people to listen to your sermon, grow from it, preach it practically to where they can do it out through the week. That's a good thing. But there are different seasons that we're supposed to be in, and y'all are called to a different season right now.
So, I wouldn't say that I wholly agree, but it's not because of what you're saying. I think it was because of how I presented what I said. Okay. I think I misrepresented the way that I intended. So we still do sermons, but the difference is what I have seen in my life is a lot of sermons with no expectations. Right. And so what you want to see within your sermon is action steps to be taken that the people can be held accountable to. And so with every message I've ever heard you preach, as far back as I've known you, that's always existed.
Yes.
There was always a question I could go to anyone who listened to your sermon the next week and say, hey, did you accomplish these things? What? So we could take those to the battleground. You know what I'm saying? What we see a lot of times is sermons that are knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Right. It's knowledge for the sake of being theologically puffed up, and hey, here's maybe a tidbit you can apply somewhere. But there's no real call to action. There always needs to be a call to action. I'm not necessarily saying like an invitation. I don't mean like a call to the altar. Those
needs to be a challenge.
There needs to be a call to action. There needs to be something for you to follow up on. Like we should not ever leave a message and say, well, what am I supposed to do with that? You know, that is how everything really culminates within a sermon. Is okay, we heard all this, and what do we do with it?
Right.
What do we do with it? My friend Brian Brian Crane, he's a pastor of Progression down in Baton Rouge, and one of the big things that he likes to say, or I've heard him say at the end of a message, he says, "What's my all-in move?" You know, how do I go all in on what we talked about today? And then he gives them the move. This is the move. And how easy to follow up on that. Hey, man, did you make the all-in move last week? And so that's what I want to see more of. And so I want to make sure that I just clarified. I was not saying, hey, let's get away from sermons, or that sermons were necessarily harmful. But when we pursue knowledge simply for the sake of knowledge, simply for the sake of being puffed up, I do have a massive problem with that. I've seen a lot of churches shift more towards apologetics with no action.
Right.
And the study of apologetics I find extremely vital for being able to have these deep intellectual conversations. The problem is I would call those a minority of the type of interactions that I'm having with lost people. It's very rarely these deeply nuanced questions. It's usually very general, and usually the big deep questions are not apologetics required. They're basic understanding of Scripture required. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
So a thought and a question.
Go for it.
So yeah, I didn't think that y'all cut out all the speaking.
Okay, cool.
It's the focus of it.
Gotcha. I was making sure that I wasn't trashing that we ever did sermons.
No. It's just the focus of it.
Gotcha.
Spending more time being intentional in prayer, praying for the people, and praying for what you're going to be, saying to them.
Sure.
I understand that. But so that's the statement. My question is this, and I legitimately don't know. Okay. Because
I might not either.
No, you do know.
We'll find out.
Well, because your area of expertise is youth. Now, you've been a pastor, different kind of
100%,
pastor.
yeah.
But you've been a youth pastor a lot. I've been a youth pastor none.
Sure.
Okay. So I guess my question based off of that is because I am a practical preacher. I like to put things into practice. If we can't do that, I don't really know why we're here, But isn't every youth pastor focused that way? I mean,
what way?
In a practical, action-based way. I mean,
Oh God, no.
Really?
No.
See, I couldn't. Okay, this is my mind. If I was a youth pastor, I would think that the way I preach, as far as being a practical, action-based pastor or preacher, would be the way every youth pastor is. And then when they get to be a senior pastor, then they feel like they gotta come up with some, latest, greatest stuff, yada, yada, yada. But to me, it seems like a youth pastor should always be one that's promoting action, that's promoting let's move and all that kind of stuff.
No, 99.9% of youth ministry is, hey, I know you're doing this sin, and you need to stop doing this sin.
Oh, snap.
Almost all of it.
Really?
If you fired almost every youth pastor that exists, you'd see almost no difference in the church. It's horrible. It's horrible. Youth ministry it's a joke.
Okay.
It's a joke.
See, I didn't realize that. I would think that, the elementary type teaching of here's you learning something, now let's go apply it, would be the way all youth pastors do.
I wish. It is almost exclusively, and it's why I'm so hesitant to take my youth a lot of places, because it is almost exclusively, and church camps can be just as bad. I'm lucky enough to have been like personal friends with people who are deeply involved in church camps, so I know the speakers coming and know a lot of the things that are happening, but it is primarily, I know what sins you're committing, let me shame you for these, and you need to stop doing them. And that's youth. It has been youth for a long time, which is why it's such a problem. And we definitely don't need to see that. A lot of your experience with youth has been different because you've had different type of people leading youth at the churches that you've served at.
Right.
And so and it's been a pleasure for me over the years not to have to deal with that experience directly, but I mean, I know youth pastors.
Is there?
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Well, that's the reason I asked you. It was a
I know
legitimate
hundreds,
question. I don't know.
hundreds of them.
Right, and I don't.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, knows I don't like youth pastors for a lot of reasons. But now that just solidified that.
Well, in addition to that, man, the reality is that a lot of the church has turned that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just you. It's the church in general. Now the question is why. The why is because people don't know the gospel anymore. The gospel, the way that it was originally preached in Scripture, what we read about in the letters from Paul, what we read about in the New Testament, it's not what's preached most places today. It is a very, very watered down version. The salvation experience is extremely watered down, where it's all about you going to heaven one day. Like that was not the whole purpose of the gospel in the New Testament. You don't see that.
Right.
Like, it's not preached like, hey, do this so that you'll go to heaven. Like, but that's the gospel today in most places. And that just kind of trickled down to the youth pastors, which in most cases are not true pastors. We'll call them lesser pastors. I'm not like, hey, I'm a youth pastor. Like, I'm not trying to insult any youth pastor that gets this. I know some good ones. I know more bad ones, right? And if you're listening to this and your feelings are hurt, you just assume yourself one of the good ones if you want to.
No, get better.
whatever you want to do.
You just lied to them.
Yeah,
Dude, you don't really feel that way.
I didn't say that. I said you assume yourself. I didn't say you were.
Yeah,
assume yourself. It'll make them feel better.
You're making them feel better. You're lying.
They'll make themselves feel better. No, they're mad right now, and that's okay.
They just need to get better.
The reality is most youth pastors don't know the gospel. The reason they're a youth pastor is because they're not equipped to be an actual pastor. Well, your youth pastor should be able to be a pastor. If you couldn't comfortably say, hey, this guy's ready to be a pastor right now, he's just a little young, and it may be harder for our adults to hear from him just because of how young he is. If you can't honestly say that, don't hire him. Get rid of him. He'd be a great helper. He's not your youth pastor. A youth pastor is somebody that's like, this guy's got it, and in 10 years, when he's got a family and some kids and people are ready to receive from him, because it's not an 18-year-old trying to tell me how to live my life. Like, 10 years, this guy's going to be dynamite, but he could do it now if he were,
So exactly what you just said was my mindset. That was my mindset is, hey, he knows how to challenge the people. He knows how to preach the gospel. He knows how to get them practically. But because he's young right now, it may not be received with our group right now. No. So that's why he's a youth pastor.
Nope, not youth pastors. Youth pastors have very little knowledge of the Scripture. They are glorified event planners. And if they will keep your kids entertained and pointed in a gospel direction, that's good enough for me. And it's a joke. And I, as a whole, I hate it. Children's ministry too, for the record, is saying, hey, give them some candy, read them a Bible story, sing a couple songs, send them on their way. It's like, I get that they're kids, but there are things they can understand. If you don't believe me, talk to my 8 and 6-year-old. Right. They understand it. But we go through the same gospel messages that I learned the gospel through. Same ones. We started. What was God's plan from the beginning? We start there. Yeah. And we walk through it. We don't walk through it all at once. We break it down into smaller pieces. It's a little more digestible. We make sure they understand it before we move on. But they understand it, and they can spit it back to you. And we are doing our kids a disservice, the youth and the children, by assuming them not ready for real gospel, and by not giving them. If we're going to stick them in youth ministries and stick them in children's ministries, you need to do it with competent people. Don't stick them in there with babysitters. If that's what you're going to do, keep them in the service with the pastor. I like it. And so.
Hey, I like it. I like challenging people, moving forward. I almost said, what have you done for me lately? I like that. I don't like, trying to eat last week's fruit, and living off of last year's manna. Hey, let's move forward and continue and stuff. So, hey, well, I'm glad y'all are doing that. With our youth group, it's totally different because it's new. And so it's like going and telling people and challenging people and loving on people and telling them how great the youth is. It's a natural response to doing something new.
Yeah.
You know, whereas your group's been there for a good long time, and yeah, it can get stagnant. Anything can get stagnant.
Sure.
We get stagnant here at Fresh Start. We get stagnant in my group, you know, whatever. And so being able to challenge them in a new area is good. And ours right now is kind of a natural deal because everybody wants to be where everybody's at.
And you don't have the challenge of breaking down tradition.
Right.
That can be difficult a lot of places. Now, I will say it's way easier to do in youth ministry than it is in adult ministry because tradition is so strong in adult ministry.
Right.
Whereas in youth's kind of a little awkward anyways, just in general. So when you make a big weird change, nobody's like, oh, we shouldn't do this. This isn't how we've always done youth because they haven't always been in youth.
Right.
You know, they cycle in and cycle out. And so for my sixth graders, this is the first youth experience they've ever had. So, hey, this must be it.
This is
just
how
how
we do
it's
it.
done.
Yes.
And so that's a good thing. You don't have to deal with that. And I'm glad you don't have to deal with it because it's a headache. And so, but what we have the challenge of doing in a ministry that I participate in is going to these well-established churches and trying to break down these walls of tradition for them so that they can function properly. And it's working.
Amen.
It's working a lot of places. We're seeing some revival. We're seeing people come back to church. We're seeing people give their life to the Lord. And elderly people for the first time giving their life to the Lord. Like, that's wild. That's wild. And so it's really neat, man. And so
that's really difficult when you're trying to knock down the walls of tradition and religion, and that's really difficult. And like I said, outside of our youth in our regular church, that's the opposite of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is really, really simple.
But the other thing with your youth, because I know you're a youth leader, and I also know several people helping with the youth, dude, you got a handful of people that could be pastoring churches. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we got 4 preachers out of 4 youth helpers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's what you're looking for. You're talking about 4 people who intimately know the gospel. Right. Not just like, oh, he can preach. No, like really know the gospel. Could answer some hard questions, kind of know the gospel. And love people and have upstanding families. I mean, all the stuff that you want.
And that's the challenge for them. So for them, and you know, hey, we can talk about anything on this podcast because it's ours, and we're and our focus here is making people better.
Yep.
And so we have 4 guys that are helping with the youth and everything, and that are all 4 able to preach at any time to any group. What they're learning how to do or they're all able to preach at any time. What they're having to learn how to do is to, be able to relate it to the kids and stuff. So that's their challenge, and they're learning, and they're willing to do it and learn how to do it and stuff. But they can share it with anybody on any platform, and so they're learning how to do that better in those intimate settings and stuff like that. And so it's growth for them too. But biblically and with the gospel, they're all real strong, and with people, they're strong. They're just, learning how to break it down to their small groups and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm glad they accepted that challenge. It's good stuff.
It's good. Well, hey, look, I got a quick question for you, man.
Okay.
First, a quick one, and then I want to pop straight to get to know you. Did y'all play football last week, and how did it go?
We played football last week, but the other team didn't show up very much of the game. We played the worst football team that we've played since I've been at Mangum. Even though the score doesn't show it like that on purpose. Yeah. But we played, we've beat teams by 50 and 60 points. Yeah. But we played the worst team that we've played.
Oh, wow.
It's school Madison, and Madison was real down, and then they got a good coach, and he brought them up, and they were really doing well, and I'm very proud of that fan base and everything over there. And then their coach got offered a job at Carroll about midsummer. And so they're difficult, and and what's bad about it is they have the athletes. They just don't have the coaching. So they don't know when to go on the field and when not to go on the field.
Oh no.
It would have been better, and it's just, my observation. I'm on their side watching, okay? It would have been better if they would have picked out their top 11 athletes and said, hey, you're offense, defense, special teams, and you never come off the field. And if you get hurt, this guy is going to be the 12th guy that comes and fills whatever position it is. And if somebody else gets hurt, this guy is, and that's it. But because they got like 10 delay game penalties because of trying to run people on and off the field. I mean, they only got 20-something people on the team to begin with, and then nobody knows what they're doing.
That's
so
tough.
it was terrible.
I hate
The other side of that is Cooper had his best game that he's ever had.
Amen.
And so he made some tackles and made some stuff that it didn't matter who they played. He was in the right position or put himself in the right position and then was able to finish. So
awesome.
So he had a great game, so I was proud of him. But as far as, us feeling good about the win, I don't even know what the score was, but it was bad. So,
That's tough.
yep.
Well, secondary question.
Yeah.
If you go to a potluck dinner,
Hey, before you ask this, because this is not a football question, let me say this. This week we have Faraday. Next week we have Oak Grove.
Okay.
And then next week we have OCS.
Yeah, easy stretch.
So all of those schools will know how they are at the end of this stretch.
Yeah.
So Faraday's 5-0 right now, number 4 in the state, and we feel like they're a paper champ because they hadn't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
But we haven't played them. We don't know. And then we got Oak Grove the next week, who's got a new quarterback, new tight end and stuff. But they've only lost like one game to a team in Arkansas. So you don't know. And then I got Matt Rayleigh calling me because he's concerned about OCS's offensive line and this and that. But we don't really know yet. But over this next 3-game stretch, Faraday plays us, Oak Grove, and OCS, or us, OCS and Oak Grove, and we play Faraday, Oak Grove, and OCS. So you're going to know who you are 3 weeks from now. Yeah. So anyhow.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm excited to hear about
Potluck.
that. Yeah, so back to more important things. If you go to a potluck dinner, there is usually, not always, but usually, a table that is specified specifically for desserts. And I'm curious, when you walk up to that table, what does Clay Russell most hope to find when he's there?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, if I know the people, then I'm going to go for the best dessert cook's dessert,
Okay.
regardless of what it is.
Okay.
I have a list of people in my mind, and if those
Name 'em.
people are there,
Name them.
if those people are there, if Miss Joyce Southern is there,
Yeah.
then I'm going to go see if she
Yeah.
made Italian cream cake.
So just Miss Joyce.
If she
Nobody else.
If she didn't,
You guys heard it
make
here
that,
first.
then I'm going to eat whatever she made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if you're not Joyce Southern, you
so
are not a good cook.
I am going to.
You are trash.
If I know the people,
Don't even bother cooking.
I
for
have
Clay.
a list.
Yeah.
I have a list.
It's a short list.
and
Joyce.
I'm going to go down that list if I know the people.
It shouldn't take long. It's one name.
Because I'm a guy that can eat anything. Any good dessert is good with me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not, hey.
And this is for the rest of the mediocre cooks.
That's
You're
right.
telling
If
them.
you make a great carrot cake, I'm there for it. If
Yeah.
you make a great this or that or whatever. So if I know the people, I'm going to
Person.
ask them.
It's person
I'm
when
going
it's
to
one.
ask them, what did you make?
Yeah.
And whatever they made, that's what I'm going after. Miss Barbara Wiggers
Oh, here he goes.
makes a cherry chocolate cake. Let me just say this because I don't want to lie to everybody on Jesus Cartel. Miss Barbara Wiggers used to make a cherry chocolate cake. I haven't had it in so many years that I'm not sure if she's even able to do that anymore. Oh, she'll have to prove it to me. But anyhow, she used to make a cherry chocolate cake that's not what I would order at a restaurant.
Yeah.
But it was what she knew how to make the best.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a great cook already. And so that I would go after.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's all being said. I could tell you about, this one's banana pudding and this one's this and all that. But if I'm going to a potluck at Crockett Point and I don't know the cooks.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of good cooks
Yeah.
at Crockett Point.
Yeah.
I understand all that. I know there's a lot of ladies been there a long
Just
time.
nobody good enough to make your list. I get you.
Right. I've ate food there for different things and stuff like that. But if I'm going to a potluck where I don't know the people, I'm going to look for the 4-layer delight. And let me tell you why. Because 4-layer delight is like a graham cracker crust, and then it's like Cool Whip, chocolate pudding, some more Cool Whip, and little nuts on the top and stuff. You can't mess that up.
It's hard to ruin.
So even if you're a 22-year-old lady that's just got married, that
Name one.
that
Name one that you think could not cook anything else.
any 22-year-old lady that got married that has a kid that needs
He's
to
obviously
learn their
thinking about
first
someone
dessert
specific.
to make, that they can't mess it up, 4-layer delight is a good one to learn.
If you're 22 and you just got married and had a kid, and you know Clay Russell, I want you to know he is talking about you specifically. You cannot cook. You are an embarrassment to
Now see-
women and kitchens everywhere.
See, this is what Andrew doesn't understand. And because he made this comment earlier about youth leaders and stuff, and I thought it was wrong, but I didn't call him out on it. But now that he said that, I'm going to have to call him out on it because it is what it is. So, because we agree on a lot of stuff, and a lot of things that he says I don't agree on, he doesn't really believe. So when he said that youth leaders that can't be pastors aren't good for anything, they are good for a lot of stuff and a lot of different things. And when he says that a woman that can't bake all these things isn't good for anything, that's not true. Because a good 4-layer delight
Someone has to clean.
is a good thing, right? And so you can't mess it up. So if I'm going to your potluck, I'm looking for the 4-layer delight.
Yep.
If I'm going to my potluck, I'm looking for people.
Yeah. So,
Amen.
so the worst thing you can get at a dessert table is something dry,
Yes.
something dried out. A good chocolate chip cookie is only a good chocolate chip cookie if it's not been dried out.
That's right.
You know, a good cake, same thing. It needs to be a moist cake. I know a lot of people hate the word moist. Just deal with it.
But you're a cake guy, right?
I love cake.
Aren't you a cake guy?
I love cake. Yeah. So for me, I'm looking for strawberry cake.
Okay.
If you make a good, it doesn't necessarily have to be good. You just really enjoy strawberry cake. Obviously, if it's dried out, you know you've sinned.
Yeah, you
but
shouldn't let him cook.
yeah, you've sinned, and the youth pastor near you will shame you about it.
But not hold you to it.
Yeah, but not hold you to it. They're not going to ask you if you've done better. They're not going to give you tips to improve it either. They're just going to tell you to stop. But no, and most of the people that make strawberry cake, I have found, this is different than regular cakes. I have had so many dry chocolate cakes in my life, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had a dry strawberry cake. It seems to be that people who make strawberry cake tend to be people who make cakes.
A little bit better.
It's not, you usually don't get boxed strawberry cake at potlucks. If you see a strawberry cake at a potluck, it looks like it was made from scratch.
I got you.
And so they are phenomenal. They're usually incredibly moist. I love strawberry icing. Strawberry
I was
icing
supposed to ask you, what's your favorite icing on a strawberry cake?
no, dude, strawberry icing.
Really?
No question.
Strawberry on
yeah, dude,
strawberry?
it's pink on pink, brother.
Not cream cheese on top, just
no,
strawberry.
it is pink on pink, and it is phenomenal. I also love peanut butter sheet cake. My Nana makes a peanut butter sheet cake that she brings to potlucks a lot of times, and it is it's peanut butter is good in general. Peanut butter on a good cake is just top tier, and the peanut butter icing that she makes, it doesn't taste so peanut butter heavy. It's a really a good medium between peanut butter and traditional icing.
Yeah.
So it's not so
So
overpowering.
it's a peanut butter flavored icing.
Right. And so it's just, and she makes it all from scratch, and she's just phenomenal. So strawberry cake be number one, peanut butter sheet cake if that's around, but that's a rare delicacy to find. You don't find them often. Now, I'm going to lean in a little bit towards you. If those things aren't available, I'm looking for something that is loose. I'm looking for something loose. I'm probably not going to go for a cake or a brownie or something that could be dried out, because I don't eat a whole lot of junk. And so if I'm going to eat it, I want it to be very good. And so that's you see they make like these little Butterfinger cakes, or it's got like crushed up Butterfinger and stuff like that. They're real good. Same with the 4-layer delights you're talking about. And then you see like they'll do like these Oreo cream things with crushed up Oreos and stuff like that. Those it's like a dirt cake kind of deal.
You can't mess those up.
Very,
either.
very good.
Right.
And so that's where I'm leaning on a potluck dessert. And just for the record, so no judgment, because people did just witness me do this at another church not too long ago. It is not unlike me to skip main courses altogether
Go straight
at
for dessert.
potlucks and eat desserts because it's going to be a high calorie situation either way.
Right.
And normally the food at a potluck is equally unhealthy. There's not normally steaks.
Right.
If there was steaks at the potlucks, I would get the steaks, but that's not normally the case. You're normally talking about like heavy pastas, a
Casseroles,
lot of bread, a lot of things like that. So it's much more likely if I know that I'm about to blow a massive expenditure of calories, that I'm just going to go get a couple of desserts that I really like and call that a day.
Let me tell you something we did at our church this time, because we did a potluck 2 weeks ago, and we have to work with the space that we have, right?
Yep.
And so our dining hall is now our overflow sanctuary. So we couldn't just have all the food in the dining hall because it's now 60 people in there and as part of the sanctuary. So we had everybody bring it into that area because there was no Sunday school there. And then right before church, we moved it all to a large Sunday school room, right? Moved all the food in there. But we kept the desserts in that dining hall area where we would be eating at, after we break it down for church, because we're not in a big building. We're having to do the best we can with our people. So while everybody stood in line to get to the food line, me and a couple of the smart people hung out saying, under the pretense of we're letting everybody else go first. But what we were was first for the dessert table. So it's not like we were running through this line and having to grab something because you got 200 people behind you. No, we were able to look at a table this big and specifically pick out the exact desserts that we wanted, whether we wanted a middle piece or an end piece or whatever we wanted, and we had our full choice right there.
That's right.
Now, we got our dessert plate, stood up over there, taught, and ate them. And then after everybody else come out, then we went and got our food, and everybody just assumed that we were doing the nice thing and letting everybody go first. But we had already ate our dessert.
That's right.
Yeah, it's great. Man, it was one of the best moves I've made.
That's top tier.
Yep.
It's top tier. So last week we talked about what does more look like. We did a 2-part series. Last week we finished it up. And and this week, man, we got a good question, and I've been kind of contemplating rolling around just exactly the best way to word it so that the general public could understand it, because it is sort of a nuanced thought. But I know it's one that a lot of people have had, because it's not the first time that I've heard it expressed. And the question is this: so in life, we want to trust the Lord, right? I think that's fair to say. As Christians, we want to say, hey, God, I trust you with this situation. And so a lot of times what we talk about is releasing something to the Lord. It's like, Lord, I'm letting go of this. I don't exactly understand. I'm going to release this to you. I'm going to trust you with this. And then sometimes what we see from people is that in the process of releasing and trusting, they just stop doing altogether, right? And so the question is, where does your effort and your role and your responsibility in a situation, where does it play into that situation? Where does trusting the Lord and you stopping effort, like where is the line there? Do we, when we trust the Lord, when we release, do we just go hands off, say, Jesus, take the wheel and see what happens? Or should we be continuing to put in a tremendous amount of effort towards that thing, even though where are you? What do we do? That's such a good question, such a common question. And I think that a lot of people take different routes to it, and I think everybody feels a little weird about the route that they took. And so I'm curious as to your thoughts. I'm also going to turn the air off because this is America, and we shouldn't have to feel like this.
Yeah, I'm going to actually wait till you get back before I answer, for a reason. And here's why. This is something that we could talk about a lot, especially if we had a specific
Instance
or situation or whatever, and every instance or situation would be a little different, and here's why. And I was laughing because I was like, are you really fixing to say this? And I am. That's the reason why I gave you time to go change the air, just to make sure.
Well, I turned it off, but it has not complied.
Yeah, it'll take about 6 more seconds.
Oh, Jesus.
So here's my deal.
If you nail this, I'm going to be so upset. Okay.
Yeah,
He's wrong.
it's
Still going.
malfunction.
Still going.
All right, so what I heard you say was that something comes up, we release it to God, and should we be 100% hands off, or should we have responsibility, and where's the line, that kind of stuff. So here's my response. I don't believe that we should release everything to God.
You heard it here first. And that's been this episode of the Jesus Cartel. We'll catch y'all next week. We figure out if Clay's...
we get another host.
Yeah, we'll figure out if Clay's still pastor.
Till we get another host. And here's why. When you have unforgiveness towards somebody,
Okay.
and that's not doing you any good, right? So you should forgive that person and release them to God. Hey, God, I don't agree with what they did. It hurt me, but this unforgiveness isn't hurting anybody except me. So I release them to you, God. You have your will in their life, and we release it to God, and we don't pick it back up. I'm cool with that. But when God gives you an opportunity to do something in life, I don't think you should just release it to God. I think you should say, hey, God, you gave me this opportunity. Hey, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Now, me and you are fixing to knock this out of the park.
Yep.
You show me what part I'm supposed to play. Show me, do your part. Hey, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do it well. And here's where I'm going with that, is because if God wanted you healed, he could just heal you. But if God tells me, hey, you need to go pray for Andrew, then God's got another goal there.
Yep.
He not only wants you healed, he wants you healed through me praying for you.
Sure.
Now, it could be to strengthen my faith. It could be to strengthen our relationship. It could be to strengthen your faith. It could be a lot of different reasons. We see it as Andrew got healed.
Sure.
But God's using that for a lot of different things, right? And so if God tells me to go lay hands and pray for Andrew, it's not just for Andrew to get healed, but there's a whole plan there of what God's trying to do, right? Now, in order for Andrew, we've never done this on Jesus Cartel before. Y'all aren't going to believe it happened, but here I am.
Oh, wow.
Again.
Ta-da.
Right here.
Yeah.
And so if God tells me to go lay hands and pray for Andrew, he's not going to force me to do that. He's not going to take my hand and make me do that. No, I get a choice to come and lay hands on Andrew and pray for him. Now,
Oh, my God.
if all I did was say, God, I release Andrew to you. You have your way in his life. Hey, that sounds all great and everything. But, hey, that didn't strengthen my faith. It didn't strengthen Andrew's faith. It didn't strengthen other people that will hear about the time that Clay come across camera and laid hands on Andrew and he was healed. So we all have a part to play in this.
Two things that have nothing to do with that. One,
The air's still running.
so the fan must be on. They must have took the fan off auto and turned it to on, which is a sin. The fan should never be on. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sinners. And that's why Fresh Start will be shut down next month, because we cannot pay our electric bill. Two things have nothing to do with that. One, a lot of people have told me that anytime we do something like this where we interact, it throws them off, because in their mind, even though they know it's a camera shot, they still picture us sitting right next to each other, because we're right next to each other on the thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so, they don't understand we're on opposite ends of a table.
Right.
And so,
I got
we're not next to each other. That it's just it's a camera illusion, it's a split screen, but in your mind, it still wants to put you there. So that's one thing. The second thing, when you just hit me on top of the head.
Did you see that it was 6 seconds after I sat down when it turned off?
That was
just
not
like
6
it would have
seconds. That's
been
not true.
when you sat down
That's
a
not
while
true.
ago. If somebody
It's a
wouldn't
lie.
have turned it
It's
to
fake
auto.
news. It's fake news. When you hit me on top of the head just now, I got a flashback. Do you remember when we were on that mission trip in Ethiopia and you beat me publicly? So I used, if you didn't know, I used to have really long hair, like halfway down my back, long hair. And when we would go into Africa and we would teach at these pastor conferences and things like that, when people wanted to use an illustration of Jesus, someone would usually call me up and ask. I always had my hair in a bun when we were traveling because, you know, it's cold showers, quick showers. You know, your hair it's hard to stay super clean when you're traveling through third world countries. And so I'd always have my hair up. But when we would, someone would want an illustration of Jesus, they would usually call me to the front and I would let my hair down for the illustration. And a lot of times it was met to applause when I would drop my hair. So if anyone ever asks you, has there ever been a standing ovation to Andrew's hair? Yes, many times. And so
by
this is
African men.
Yeah, this is a real thing. And one time, Clay's preaching a message, and he's really leaning into the persecution of Jesus. And so Clay calls me to the front. You know, I let my hair down. Everyone cheers. And Clay starts talking about everything that they did to Jesus. And he's like, and then they plucked his beard, and he like grabs my goatee and he rips it out. And the men, they start cheering. And then he's like, and then they hit him. Clay rears back and punches me. And he's like, no, they threw him to the ground. And they kicked him. He starts, and so for a few minutes, Clay assaulted me in front of at least 500 to 1,000 African pastors, all to their applause.
Yeah. Did you know that in Jesus' day they invented the RKO?
Yeah,
because they RKO'd him out of nowhere.
It was wild, and you could tell like he was getting pumped up, that they were pumped up. The adrenaline kept going. So as the beating, as it progressed, he's hitting me harder and harder because of the excitement. And so when you just hit me on top of the head, I got a flashback.
Yeah, that was a difficult time because, you know, you got the crowd and everybody's pumping you up and you don't realize how strong you are. And it's just a difficult situation for the other person.
Yeah. So as far as where is the line between self-effort and releasing things to God, here is, and I lose a lot of people here. And so track with me. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you.
Amen.
And it didn't get there by accident. It was placed there. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? So you've been clothed in his righteousness, so that when God looks at you, he doesn't see Clay's works. When he looks at me, he doesn't see Andrew's works. He sees the righteousness of Christ, as if I lived the same life that Christ lived. I didn't, but as if I did, because I've been clothed in his righteousness. But then, in addition to being clothed in his righteousness, he also cut out my old nature and replaced it with his Holy Spirit, right? This Spirit is empowered with the same power, because it's the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead. Now, why would he empower us? He empowered us to do his works.
Amen.
Empowered us to do his work. So when you ask a question about releasing things to God, I think that if every time we spoke we heard God audibly, I think that the response he would say is, hey, you can't release this to me. You've been empowered to overcome this.
Amen.
And it's not because God has abandoned us to our flesh's ability. That's the way a lot of people look at it. It's like, well, if God doesn't take it, well, then I'm left to my own devices.
Right.
And that's not true. He has literally empowered you with the Holy Spirit to be an overcomer, to walk the way that he walked and live the way that he lived. And so most things should not have to be released, because you've already been pre-empowered to overcome.
Amen.
And so your lack of overcoming is really a lack of belief.
Amen.
It's a lack of belief in what Jesus has done. And so in most situations, I would agree, they should not be released. When something needs to be released to the Lord, it's when there's something that physically, through the power of the Spirit of God, we still don't have the ability to do. Those things are few and far between. When you actually need a supernatural touch, a supernatural reach down of the divine hand of God, because you do have the power of the Holy Spirit on the inside of you. And so if you want to see someone touched by the Lord, you should go touch them. It's not because you are God. It's because he placed his spirit on the inside of you. You've become one with him. And so now when you go lay your hands, it's as if the divine hand of God has reached out and touched. Again, I'm not saying you're God. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he has made the willful decision to empower you with his spirit. And his expectation, a right and reasonable expectation, is that we walk our life out with that power, with that knowledge,
Amen.
with that in mind, which is how we can separate ourselves from sin, which is how we cannot continue to fall to the same temptations that we used to fall to before. It's not because I figured it out. It's not because I got smarter. It's not because I got better. It's because I've been empowered by the Spirit of God not to continue folding to those same temptations. Now, earlier in my walk, I did still fall to some of those same temptations. Well, what changed? My awareness of what has been done on the inside of me. It's not that I have more ability now. It's not that I got smarter. It's not that I got better. It's that I'm just more aware of what Jesus has already accomplished in me. And as I became aware of that, I started to be able to utilize that. And it's like, imagine if you had a device and you know that it has one purpose. We'll use a cell phone. Cell phone's a great example, right? There's a lot of times I'll be on my cell phone and I'd be like, man, I really need this right now. And then someone who's younger than me and more up on technology will say, well, you know, your phone can do that. And it's like, well, no, I did not. And they'll show me how it can do it. The phone always could. I just wasn't aware of it.
Right.
And because I wasn't aware of it, I wasn't utilizing it. And so what we have to do is be intimate in our relationship with the Lord so that we can hear him clearly. Second thing is you have to understand that sin is loud. Sin is loud. So the things in your life that you're not taking care of, the things that you're allowing to remain there, they're very loud. It's hard to hear from God when you're surrounded by so much noise.
That's right.
The things God wants you to cut out of your life, you need to cut out. Not because, well, I won't go to heaven if I still have being saved is being saved. We're talking about being able to walk out the purpose you're called to. You got to get rid of the noise so that you can hear him. And when you can hear him, you'll hear him all the time, for the record, and it's worth it. And it starts with sinful things, but eventually it moves away from sinful things. Now it's about, okay, what is permissible but not beneficial? Mm-hmm. I want to cut those out too. And so for me, I had to draw a hard line in the sand and say, okay, I've cut out the sinful things, but I think there's still some things in my life making some racket that probably shouldn't be. What is it that I'm allowing to stay that's not benefiting me? And then we cut those out too. And then you know what happened? I can hear. Yeah. I can hear God speak. And so now I'm walking in the direction of God because he's telling me the direction with the power of God, not as God. I'm not God, but we've become one. And I do fully believe that we've become one, and he's empowered me with his spirit. And so now I'm walking his direction with his empowerment to live the life he's calling me to live. And I can do anything that he calls me to do because I've been empowered to do so. Now, he hasn't told me to touch dry bones and make them come to life. So that hasn't happened. But if he does, I'm not going to go, well, Lord, I relinquish this to you. I'm going to touch them. Amen. Why? Because I've been empowered to do so. I've been empowered already to do everything he's called me to do. And so I'm not looking externally for God to do something. I'm looking internally for God to do something because he's here. The Spirit shows up at your church on Sunday because you brought him. You as believers. He was with you. It was an empty building until you got there. And now the Spirit's there. And so that's where I am on relinquishing things to the Lord. Now,
I do have a couple ideas there,
please.
Then we'll move forward there. It's because, we want to make sure, we preach the balance of it. I know in New Testament churches and, non-denominational type churches, charismatic church or whatever, we sing songs, battle belongs, and stuff. And I'm fighting a battle that's already been won. And in the story of Jehoshaphat, where, God says, hey, the battle's no longer yours, but it's mine. We're not contradicting that at all. Yep. Has God won the ultimate battle? Sure. Has he triumphed over death, hell, and the grave? Yes. And what Andrew was saying about God living is only possible because of the finished work of Christ, know. So do we believe that he's won the battle and all those things? Yes, we do believe that. Do we believe that it's already won? Yes, but we also believe because of the finished work of Christ and because of his resurrection and him sending his spirit to live inside of us, that he has empowered us to do every single thing that he ever wants us to do it, and that we were already given everything that we needed to be able to do those things. So when things come up, we're like, oh, this just come up. I'm not just going to say, oh, well, I just release it to God. Let God's will is always done. That's not true.
That's right.
He empowered us for a reason. Empower means give us the tools necessary and the power to be able to do those things. And so he wants to do his work through his body, and we're his body.
Yep. And it's 100% him.
Yes.
I want you, if you haven't understood that clearly, it's 100% God. Everything good about me is him in
Amen.
me. I know who I was without him. No ifs, ands, or buts. I know exactly who I was without him, and it wasn't good. He in me is everything that's good about me. He is who empowers me to do any good thing. Anything you like about me is him. And that is a reality. It's not just something I'm saying. It's something I 100% believe. And so if you see good things happening through me, I want you to know that not only do you know, but I also know that it's him, not me. I don't think that it's me. And so I know a lot of people, they get weird about that, and they think that there's some sort of ego attached. There's not. There's absolutely not. I'm well aware of what I was and who I have become because of who he is in me. And but the other thing we got to understand is just because the war is won doesn't mean the fight is over.
That's it.
Right? And so you can win a war. You can win a fight. You think about a boxing match. There are a lot of times in boxing matches or UFC fights or whatever, you'll see a guy declared a winner, and then there's a scuffle in the cage afterwards, right? Well, the winner was declared already. I don't mean the other guy ain't going to still try to swing on you, right? And so that's essentially what we're dealing with an enemy. We're with the enemy. We're dealing with a defeated foe who's aware he's been defeated, but is still swinging. Yep. He's just trying to get in whatever shots he can get on his way out. And he knows he's on his way out. And so he's just trying to kick, scratch, and claw. And so for a lot of people, this is just kind of a goofy conversation I had with one of my friends yesterday. It was like, could you imagine if you're at your house and some redcoats showed up, some British people, and they're like, hey, this is England's land, and you're like, what? Like, it's like, yeah, it's like, this is England's. And it's like, brother, like that's been settled for some time, So what is my move here? If this guy draws a weapon on my family, is my move to just try to convince him that it's over? Or do I defend in that situation? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, the war is well over. There's still a fight on my hand here, And so for us as Christians, you got to understand, this is all a settled matter. It's 100% a settled matter. But there is a real enemy who's really pursuing destruction in and around you and in and around the people around you. And we need to be willing to wage war for them on their behalf, especially for those who don't know him yet. We need to be waging war on their behalf until they know him. And so, the only times I relinquish something to the Lord is when I know that I have walked in obedience to what he's told me to walk in obedience to, and I don't know what to do next. That's when I'm like, okay, Lord, I laid my hands. I prayed for them to be healed. I'm not seeing what I expected. I'm lifting this up to you. I'm trusting you with the situation. So that to me is where that comes in after you've walked in obedience.
Well, and so, just a little balance there is this, you talked about being able to hear well from God and everything. And I think there's 3 levels of that. I want to just say that real quick, and then I'll give you my response there. Because it's just a little bit different. The first thing is I think when you're learning to hear from God, you hear a lot of God telling you not to do these things. Why are we, you alluded to that. Why? Because it's distracting, those things are meant to steal, kill, and destroy you, right? And so we need to get rid of those things. And then you come up with the other side of, permissible things, so things that, you could do, but they're just really not beneficial to you. And that's something that God taught me 30 years ago, and it's been really strong in my life ever since. And so you get to where you're hearing what not to do. And then you're getting to where you can hear what am I to do, right? And so you get to the level of, hey, this is what I need to do. And so you did what God told you to do here, which is a lot of getting rid of stuff. Why? Because it's distracting. You can't hear as good, and it's not beneficial to you. And then you got rid of some other things that, I could do. It's not really sin, but they're still distracting too. Now you get to the point to where you really hear from God, and you're doing what God's called you to do. But then there's a next level, and that's when God can really tell you who you really are.
That's right.
And really tell you who you are. And when you learn who you really are, then it's a lot easier to do what he's called you to do. At first when he's telling you to do what you do and you really don't 100% know who you are, you're just doing it out of obedience. But when you really know who you are, like when you said you and God are one, hey, that's next level for a lot of people. When you get to that level where you'll believe what God really says about you, then it takes a lot of this out of the deal. Now, when you said, I said, hey, I don't release everything to God, and you said a lot of times that you'll release things to God once, you're not getting the results that, you should be getting and stuff. Another avenue is release it to God as soon as God tells you to. So you're saying you release it to God when you don't see the results, which is true. But you're also releasing it to God when he tells you to. And so there's some things that you never have to touch whatsoever.
Sure.
There might be a rumor about you that somebody says. And instead of even addressing it, you're like, God says, don't worry about this, I got this. All right, God, I trust in you, you got it. And then we don't ever touch it. We don't ever touch it. Why? Because God told us to release it.
Sure.
So what Andrew's saying, I agree with, but I'm also saying that there's an avenue there where God tells you to release it to him. And as soon as he tells you to release it to him, you release it to him.
No, that's good.
But I don't think that the question that the young man asked, and I wasn't there, I don't think it really had as much to do with this. We just had to hit that. I think the question might have been more towards, the balance between letting God work things out and us doing it ourselves. I think that was probably the balance there. And that is that is something that we have to watch out for. We have to do what God's told us to do when he tells us to do it, right? So we have the Spirit of God living on the inside of us, and when he tells us to move, we make a move. Some of this just happened last week. Some of the best things that God has ever showed me were Captain Obvious when he showed it to me. But they could have been Captain Obvious before if it would have been God's timing, but it wasn't, so he didn't make it obvious to me until the timing was right. For instance, when I knew, and I know we're probably low on time, we probably had to do 2 parts, but when I knew that we were supposed to have a youth program at Thrive Church, and I knew we were supposed to go in the whole building, and I knew it was supposed to start the second week in August, and I knew how it was supposed to be, and I knew all these different things, but then the timing got tight to where it was like, hey, we got it all planned out, but we don't have a youth director. And we got it all planned out, but we don't have a youth director. So I met with Andrew, and the whole purpose of the meeting was to explore some out-of-the-box ideas because nothing was obvious, and to explore some out-of-the-box ideas to be able to get this plan of God's done. And then the first thing he said was the most obvious thing. And when we went and explored it, it was like, well, that was obvious. And then we met with the person, and they're like, yeah, I'd love to. So that person was next door. They were the most obvious person, but they wasn't obvious at that point. Why? Because the timing wasn't right. When the timing was right, then it was obvious. We had the same thing happen last week to Jeff, where he had been working in this area, and there was something he's known about for 3 months. But then all of a sudden Wednesday, as he's driving through a cotton field, all of a sudden it hits him, the connection for now, and it's like, well, I've known that for 3 months, so why didn't I put that together? Well, because 3 months ago wasn't the right timing for God. And now it's the right timing for God. So anyhow, when God brings you through something, when there's things going on, there's going to be sometimes he says, release it to me right now. There's going to be other times where he wants you to do some stuff and finish it out. There's going to be some times where he wants you to do some stuff and then release it. But what we got to make sure that we do is only do what God's called us to do. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. I think that's important.
Yeah, and for me, it's not so much, when I tend to let those go after my obedience, not so much the result as it is the expectation.
Right.
Because when something doesn't go the way that I expected it to, it leads me to a place of, did I not hear clearly?
Yes.
Right? And so at that point, it's prudent that I stop.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you guys have ever, I know you have for sure, but if you guys have ever been in a situation where there's a bunch of tables and chairs out and like people are like cleaning and they're doing all kind of stuff and you don't know what to do, and so you just kind of start moving chairs around just so that you're doing something. It's like, don't touch the chairs. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, don't touch anything. No. And so if I feel like I misheard or misstepped even, I'm like, whoa, let me hit pause before I do something I'm not supposed to do. Yeah. Because I thought I heard this, and so I moved this direction, and it did not maneuver the way that I thought that I heard it was going to maneuver. And so let me hit the brakes here and not move until I'm sure which way the Lord is going to direct this thing. But also to that point, we have to remember that we were created for work.
Amen.
We were created in the garden to work. There's very, very few times in life. I'm not saying there's not things that, like you said, he tells us just not to touch. But I will say that you were created for work. Imagine if when God tells Adam to tend the garden, that Adam sits in the garden and goes, Lord, I relinquish this work to you.
You're God.
I mean? Yeah,
Make it
you're
happen.
God, Lord. Please, tend this garden. Like, that would have been the craziest thing ever.
Grow in Jesus' name.
Yeah, he was created for work. And so usually, we have a part to play.
Amen.
And so, that's
something Andrew just said, and I'd be remiss if I didn't interject and say this, but when he said that, when you realize that, hey, I must have not heard this correctly and not getting the results or whatever, that you stop. The worst thing that you can do as a Christian is to let it ride or go all in when you're not supposed to let it ride or go all in.
Yeah.
We hear people say all the time, you're either all in or you're all out. Hey, I understand what they're trying to say. But when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And the quicker that you stop, the better the results.
Yeah. That's right.
We had an instance, great friend heard from the Lord on a subject, and I'm convinced he heard from the Lord. The timing might not be right, might not be this or whatever, hit a major roadblock, and then all of a sudden it's now, okay, then if that's not true, then let's go, right? But that's awesome. And he feels bad because he feels like maybe he missed it, or whatever. But at the same time, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, hey, you might have heard it, but things might have changed by now. Whatever, at least you were man enough to realize that, hey, this is not the route, and hey, let's change it. Because I've seen too many men of God say, well, by God, I heard it from the Lord, and we just going knowing that it's leading to destruction.
Yeah, if everybody at the table is saying that they heard from God and they're all saying different things, that's a problem.
It is.
It's a problem. And so what you have to look at that point is what we know in Scripture is that you will know them by their fruit. And so what is producing the fruit of the kingdom? And if it's not producing the fruit of the kingdom, like, you will get your answer. You'll see by the fruit that's left behind. And so people will argue, and I've seen people go to war, but the reality is God's not going to take his hand off of you. You may step out from under it, but God is not taking his hand off of you. And so follow the fruit. Follow the fruit. And so if you don't know which way to go in a situation and you see people tugging from both sides, which happens all the time in life. I deal with it, having worked in churches as many years as I have. This is always the argument. You see in the Baptist church, the deacons are usually whoever tithes the most money. You see them kind of jockey for power against the pastorship, and everybody's hearing from God. That's just how it always goes. And we call them the hook and bull. I've called it that for you. You've heard me say it before. But that's something that I was warned about when I was 19 years old. by my mentoring pastor. He said, you got to watch out for the hook and bull. Every church has one. You need to, be careful because they're going to try to control things. And so you look at these situations, or here's the deal. Everybody's hearing from God, but they're hearing different things. Well, how do you know which one is right? Well, first off, don't hitch your wagon to something that you don't know God said. That's the first thing. Don't just choose a side. Don't pick a side and run. Take a step back, see where the fruit of God is. And then when you see the fruit of God moving, go that way. Whichever direction.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something to it that I've never added to that before because I said the same thing. But today I'm going to say something different.
Okay.
Look at current fruit.
Yep.
Not yesterday's fruit.
Yep.
That is just a big deal right now that we're seeing a lot. That we're just seeing a lot of people do things the way they did it before because it had results then, and it's not having results now. It's the same reason why Andrew changed the focus of his youth group right there. He could have said, hey, we always do it this way. It'll come back around. We go through cycles to where the youth. No. He said, hey, we're going to do something different, a different focus than what we did before because it's what God has called us to do now. And now they're already seeing fruit of that change right now. So go where you see the fruit at now. I think that's important.
Well, and also, and this will be the last thing for me because we are running short on time. I've had a lot of different mentors in my life over the years, top to bottom. I've had a lot of different people mentor me. But the question is, because everybody who's mentored me, at the time they were mentoring me, was an excellent choice as a mentor. But let's ask this question. Let's say somebody is an excellent mentor, but then they fall into full-blown drug addiction while they're mentoring me, right? Should I continue to stay under that mentorship? Right? The obvious answer to that is no. This is not the time for me to be in this relationship because it's changed. It's changed. It doesn't mean it wasn't the right person at the time.
And you honor what they taught you.
100%.
Right.
But the situation has changed. And so I have to adapt with it. It wasn't meant to change. They weren't meant to fall into full-blown drug addiction. But they made a decision and they have. And so I've got to now find a way to pivot off of this. But I can't say, well, because they're my mentor, they're my mentor, and they're gonna stay my mentor.
My ride or die.
And even if it's like, it doesn't mean I stop loving them.
Right.
It doesn't mean I stop being for them.
Doesn't mean that you don't still remember a lot that they taught you that was great.
And hope that they come back around. For the record,
right?
I'm hoping they would be my mentor again one day.
Or you can be theirs.
Either way,
right?
And so, but we've got to acknowledge what's happening now. Not what used to be. If you got a financial advisor who just went bankrupt, lost his house, lost everything, he should not be your financial advisor anymore. You got to make a new move. And so it's no more complicated than that.
It doesn't mean that you give all the money that he helped you make back.
Yeah.
It's just the money that you have now, you entrust somebody else.
That's right.
Or yourself.
That's right.
Hey, we love y'all.
Be good.